It all began with a look. Not the royal wave, not the regal smile, just a quiet, stiff look from Queen Elizabeth on Harry and Meghan's wedding day. At the time, people dismissed it. They said she was just tired or caught in a serious moment. But now, years later, we understand that look held the weight of everything that followed. Because as we now know from posthumous revelations shared by the Queen's closest confidant, her cousin, Lady Elizabeth Anson, that moment was no coincidence. We're finally hearing what the Queen really thought of Meghan Markle, and it's far from the version we were given in polished press releases. Behind the scenes, Queen Elizabeth had already formed her judgment. Meghan, to her, wasn't just a mismatch for Harry, she was a force of chaos disguised in glum and ambition. And the Queen had seen it coming from the start. Lady Elizabeth, who had been by the Queen's side for decades, closer than almost anyone, revealed the Queen believed Meghan had orchestrated the entire relationship. She didn't fall in love. She engineered it, calculated, deliberate, strategic. In private, the Queen even gave Meghan a nickname, the Troublemaker. And no, she wasn't joking. She meant it. From day one, Meghan clashed with the institution. There were early signs, subtle but clear. Minor protocol breaches, an offhand tone, and most of all, a clear refusal to conform to royal rules. These weren't innocent mistakes. Not to the Queen. For someone who lived and reigned with strict adherence to duty, they were warning signs. One of the earliest major incidents came during the wedding planning. Harry reportedly asked the Archbishop of Canterbury to perform the ceremony at St. George's Chapel without informing the Dean of Windsor, who traditionally oversees such matters. To outsiders, it may seem small. But to the Queen, it was a sharp break from tradition, and it stung. She felt sidelined by her own grandson. According to Lady Elizabeth, the Queen was more than disappointed. She was shaken by how casually Harry disregarded the institution she had sacrificed her life to uphold. But the hurt didn't stop there. Just days before the wedding, Meghan reportedly refused to show her wedding dress to the Queen during a private meeting. Not even a peek. The Queen, well into her 90s, had been trying to extend warmth, trying to bridge a gap despite her doubts. But Meghan stonewalled her. Imagine the Queen herself politely asking to see your gown and being dismissed like a gossip columnist. That moment stayed with her, not just because it was rude, but because it told her everything she needed to know. Meghan didn't trust her. And so the Queen couldn't trust Meghan either. It was the beginning of a slow unraveling. Meghan's dynamic with Kate was strained almost from the start. And this wasn't idle palace talk. The Queen saw it too. She told Lady Elizabeth that the two women simply didn't click. Her words, not speculation. In royal life, that kind of friction isn't just inconvenient, it's risky. It cracks the image of unity the monarchy depends on, especially as the younger royals step into the spotlight. But what truly broke the Queen wasn't Meghan alone. It was Harry's transformation. The funny, warm-hearted boy she adored had become, in her view, weak, unrecognizable, besotted, and not strong, she reportedly said. And while the Queen didn't hate Meghan, she certainly didn't respect her approach. What alarmed her most was this: Meghan knew exactly what she was doing. Harry didn't. The Queen had dealt with strong personalities all her life, but this was different. Meghan wasn't simply unconventional. She was disruptive in ways that went against the monarchy's very core. Lady Elizabeth Anson, who served as the Queen's closest sounding board, saw the difference between rebellion and sabotage. And, in Meghan's case, she believed it tilted toward the latter. What frightened the Queen more was how quickly Harry became isolated. Family gatherings grew tense. Conversations filtered. According to Lady Elizabeth, Harry began repeating Meghan's words almost verbatim. The independence that once defined him faded. Meghan didn't need to push him away from the family. Harry did it himself, and willingly. And yet, the Queen never went public, ever composed, ever discreet. She remained silent. But behind palace doors, she called it tragic. One moment in particular haunted Lady Elizabeth. During a phone call, Harry reportedly spent 10 straight minutes berating his grandmother. Not arguing, not heatedly disagreeing, berating. And the Queen took it in silence. She was shaken by his words and by what they meant. The loving bond they once shared had been fractured, maybe beyond repair. Harry wasn't just standing by his wife. He was lashing out at the woman who had always stood by him, and then came the rift with William. It had started small, but by the time of the wedding, it was undeniable. Meghan and Kate clashed repeatedly. The Queen didn't need media to tell her she saw it clearly. She confided in Lady Elizabeth how troubled she was by how strained things had become between the couples. But what disturbed her more was Meghan's pattern. She brought tension everywhere she went. The Queen noticed it. Charm in public, coldness in private. Meghan was polished. In charity work, graceful in interviews, but behind palace walls, she was dismissive. Toward staff, toward traditions. And when problems arose, Meghan would reframe them, turning every issue into a story about racism or outdated systems. The Queen wasn't naive. She understood the institution had flaws. But what bothered her was how fast Meghan turned everything into an attack. Instead of seeking understanding, she sought confrontation. The wedge wasn't just between brothers or wives, it was carving straight through the heart of the monarchy itself. Behind the polished photos and orchestrated public smiles, the royal machine was beginning to buckle. Staff turnover in Meghan's circle surged. Private complaints began leaking, and the weight of it all fell heavily on the Queen, especially as her health quietly declined. By the time Lady Elizabeth spoke with her in the months leading up to the wedding, the Queen had already developed deep doubts about Meghan's intentions. She confided that she hoped Meghan truly loved Harry, but she didn't believe it. "The jury's out," she had said, "Kay?" And then, with chilling clarity, added, "We think she engineered it all." That one sentence, passed from the Queen to her most trusted cousin, said everything. The fairy tale, once so pristine, was now being questioned from within, not by tabloids or critics, but by the woman who had witnessed every royal scandal and marriage for over 70 years. To Queen Elizabeth, Meghan wasn't a misunderstood outsider. She was deliberate, strategic. And Harry, lost in affection, wouldn't see it. He insisted the Queen supported the marriage, even going so far as to write letters claiming so. But behind closed doors, she told Lady Elizabeth the truth. She was not content at all. And that silent sorrow lingered because, more than anything, the Queen feared what Harry was giving up: his role, his family, and most painful of all, her trust. The wedding itself was the moment it all became painfully clear. The public marveled at the glamour. The press applauded the modern spin on tradition, but those closest to the Queen saw something different. Behind the wave, behind the pearls, Elizabeth looked cautious. She smiled for the cameras, yes, but those who truly knew her understood what her expression said. This wasn't joy. This was quiet resignation. Lady Elizabeth would later reveal that the Queen didn't view that day as a celebration. It felt like a turning point. Meghan had refused to share anything about her wedding dress, even when asked directly. It wasn't about style. It was about trust. And the Queen saw that as a clear message Meghan didn't want to be embraced. She wanted to be tolerated until she could control the narrative. That kind of behavior wasn't just unusual in royal life. It was dangerous. Because in that world, discretion isn't optional. It's survival. After the ceremony, the tension escalated. Meghan showed no signs of adapting. The curtsies, the staff hierarchy, the centuries-old traditions, it all seemed beneath her. What stunned the Queen wasn't the rejection of rules, it was the attitude behind it. Meghan behaved as if the monarchy should bend to her, not the other way around. And as always, Harry followed. With every passing month, he drifted further from the family's center. By early 2019, Lady Elizabeth noticed a shift in the Queen's spirit. The optimism had vanished. In its place, steady concern, quiet disappointment, and moments of disbelief. The Queen told her cousin she no longer trusted Meghan at all. Not because of one incident, but because of a consistent pattern. Meghan was graceful on camera, but distant and cold in private. She didn't try to earn the family's respect, she wanted to escape it. The Queen saw that Meghan had charisma, presence, even a gift for public connection. But she wasn't using it to support the monarchy, she was using it to reshape the narrative. Slowly, everything became about Meghan's pain, Meghan's press, Meghan's perspective. And when criticism came, the blame was always deflected award. The media, the staff, the royals. The Queen recognized that game. She had seen it before, and she wasn't impressed. Her world was built on service and silence, not on spectacle and spin. Even in her final years, the Queen made efforts to repair the rift. She extended olive branches. She attended dinners she had no energy for. She took phone calls that left her shaken. She tried desperately to keep the family intact, but nothing worked. And eventually it became clear Harry wasn't coming back. Not in spirit, not in loyalty, not in truth. What devastated the Queen most wasn't just that. He left, it was how he left. Harry's rejection cut deeper than any public scandal. He wasn't just stepping away from duty. He was walking away from her, from everything she had built, everything she had protected. She had given him love, trust, and a future written into history. And in return, he aligned himself with someone who viewed the crown not as a legacy, but as a launchpad. When Lady Elizabeth passed in 2020, she took with her decades of quiet loyalty and service, but her final conversations with the Queen remain. They offer a portrait not of a sovereign burdened by age or duty, but of a grandmother heartbroken. By what end? Who is lost? Because, in the Queen's eyes, Meghan wasn't the fairy tale. She was the rewrite. And for a monarch who lived every day by the book, there could be no deeper betrayal.